Hi guys.
Hello everybody. Welcome to the rollout. I am Genevieve Marie, and this is
Lindsay Rousseau.
We're flipped, so I'm always pointing the wrong way. And Kat, also Kat.
Yes, always Kat, you know. So she'll be here for history until she gets bored.
Where's Wolfgang? He's lying in wait. He's thinking about it. He knows. He'll come in.
So we might have a winner for the raffle. Chris will pop that in the Twitch chat for you guys who were here for the opening ceremony. So just keep an eye on the Twitch chat. But we have a really good, exciting episode today. But we'll kick it off with a little bit of news.
Yes, exciting things. I have some news that is short, sweet, and good to eat. So just letting everybody know that this is about RPG crowdfunding projects that are on Kickstarter that end by November 5th. So if you want in on these projects, and I'm only going to list 3. There's a lot, but I listed the top 3. If you guys want in on these projects, now is the time. They've all hit well above over their funding goal. However, if you want all of those wonderful perks and prizes, it's time to get in on that before November 5th. One of those projects is the Wagadu Chronicles, the Afro fantasy MMO for roleplay from Twin Drums. And I have talked about this MMO for a while now. That's like a couple episodes back. It is an Afro fantasy set in D&D 5e world, and it looks amazing. The next one is Worlds Without Number from Sign Nami Publishing, and the third one is Stargate SG-1 role-playing game from Wyvern Gaming. So those are 3 large games that look like they're going to be amazing. Only thing is they're crowdfunding projects, so if you don't get in on them by November 5th, who knows if you're going to get, you're definitely not going to get the amazing prizes that they offer, but you might want to get in on that just so that you can actually get the games themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And then this week, so the Games Workshop had a massive release this week. They're doing pre-releases, but there's a new faction for Warhammer, the Age of Sigmar, and the Mega Gargant figure was released, and then the Necrons got a swath of new troops. There's a new White Dwarf and a bunch of other random figures. So head on over to the Games Workshop website to see what they've got going on. According to them, this is their biggest and most impressive monster kit ever. So yeah, you might want to check that out. So if you are a Warhammer fan, this is probably something you want to get in on.
Steve's not watching.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like
where'd the money for rent go? Oh, in a big box of monsters. That's fine. Who am I kidding? I probably think that's fine.
Cool. So, all right. So today's we've got a really exciting episode for you guys. We are going to dive into how to have a game plan for your cosplay and LARPing costumes, because there's so much that goes into it. And we have 2 experts here with us to help us talk about all of these things.
Yes, indeed.
So Genevieve, you want to kick it off? You want to tell us who Lauren is?
All right. Our first guest today is Lauren Matestic, and she is from Castle Corsetry. She's the owner of Castle Corsetry, which is an amazing shop that not only focuses on making amazing corsets, but also cosplay, costuming. She has done everything from film to TV, and I love her to death. She has done some of the most amazing cosplay groups that I have ever seen at conventions. If you guys have seen the Star Wars cosplay Playboy bunnies,
yes,
that is this lady. She did that. She created the Admiral Akbar Playboy bunny suit. She's amazing. So,
yeah.
And our next guest, please.
Yes, so we've got Eiraina Ladell, who is Eiraina Ladell Cosplay. You might also know her as Steamy Leia. Type that hashtag into Instagram and just see what happens. She's an award-winning cosplayer, of course, known for her costumes for Princess Leia, but also Daenerys Targaryen, Wonder Woman, and the Steampunk Bride of Frankenstein. She also was awarded the Costume Designers Guild 892 Award for Best Hall Costume for San Diego Comic-Con 2015, as well as Comic-Con International's Costume Excellence Award in 2019. So I think between the two of these ladies, we're going to learn all there is to learn in an hour about planning your epic cosplay or LARPing costume or reenactment or just for funsies around the house because it's quarantine and you want to look cool.
Gotta look great for Halloween. All right, so my first question, this is for you, Lauren, because I know that you have done all of these amazing cosplay groups. Let's talk about the very beginnings of planning these groups, planning these cosplays. So when you get these ideas in your head, who do you reach out to? How do you know if people are going to be like cool with the idea? Because you have to make all these outfits to fit these ladies or gents too.
Two different approaches. So one, my way to approach a group costume is the dictator approach, in which I call all the shots and then people can either comply or not participate. That's my way. And that's why there's like always, at least whenever I'm running a group, that's why there's like really high quality control and like, that way, it all started really with my Playboy Bunny costumes. And my first Playboy Bunny group was actually the Star Trek Playboy Bunnies. And because the Star Trek bunnies were all like they're uniforms. That's a uniform. Like they had to be made by the same person or else they were not gonna look cohesive, coherent, different fabric choices, whatever. Like we needed to look like a unit.
Right.
So,
and you actually got the line on the Novos fabric, didn't you?
Yeah, we got a hookup from a Novos. They sponsored our fabric, so it's like official Star Trek fabric and whatnot for our TOS Star Trek bunnies. But then after the success of the Star Trek bunnies, we were like, all right, well now we have to do Star Wars bunnies. And Star Wars bunnies was a little different because it wasn't uniforms, other than like stormtroopers. Every single character had its own color scheme. But if you guys know Mylin Sarli, she is one of my good friends, but she also used to be a Playboy bunny at the Playboy Club. So she was one of my go-to like people to like get information on about like how they made their suits. And I make my suits a little differently, but like making sure that the accessories and like the whole styling from head to toe is like on point so that everybody is as uniform as possible while being able to put the character designs into just like the corset. So for me, for the Star Wars bunnies, like I designed all of them and I actually cast all of the people. So like I was like, I reached out to a certain friend and was like, hey, do you want to be my Darth Vader bunny? Hey, do you want to be a Stormtrooper bunny? Once I had like the main cast, other people that wanted to join in, I was like, okay, well, you can be, these characters are your options. So I play the dictator role whenever I do big costume groups, just whenever I want to have the control over the quality and the end product. But there have been other groups that I have done where it's definitely more of a collaborative effort and everybody has autonomy over their own costume. And then like, generally speaking, it always starts with a Facebook group. Like we create like a Facebook group and that's where we all like post our ideas and start a discussion and make sure that we're all on the same page so that we can try to be as cohesive as possible without like clashing or stepping on each other's toes. Because in the group settings, it's important that everybody looks amazing and not one person is like left out or left behind.
Right.
So Anna, you've done, oh, sorry. Genevieve? Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying awesome. Also,
I know it is.
Dictator approach is nice.
Because I'm a tyrant, but I get the job done.
Right. So Eiraina, can you hear her now, or can you just hear us?
I
Can you
can
hear
just
me?
hear you guys.
Oh, that's so sad. Okay, I can't hear Lauren. Interesting.
Yeah,
I can hear her. I
no,
don't
I-
think
I'm
you
almost sad.
We might have you refresh here in a second. So when you are, obviously you are known for some very specific cosplays. So when you are going to create like a new costume for one of the characters that you want to do, or a new character, like what is your first step in planning that costume?
The first step, if it's a costume
so
that
I
I'm
think
creating from
obviously
someone
the first
else's
step
art, like if it's a
comes
character from a
to,
movie,
identifying.
Lauren, sorry, that's too Eiraina.
Sorry, we are two people talking. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that her
That's what's
question? I
crazy
can't
is I'm
see
so
her.
worried about talking.
We'll bounce back to you though. We will.
No, do we need to refresh so that we can see and hear her?
So I think for me.
So yeah, Eiraina, what are kind of your first steps when you're planning a new costume?
So my first step starts with identifying what makes a character recognizable. So if I have this idea, it's okay. Well, if you're going for Elsa, obviously you've got to have.
No. Okay, her internet. This might not be good enough. Okay. Well, Lauren, you answer that question while we get Eiraina back. And she's back.
So I guess my approach is like it depending on if it's like from an existing franchise or if I'm doing a design. I would gather a folder on my computer of like as many reference images as I can find, and then use that as building different angles. And then sometimes whenever you're, especially comic book art, like the art is different from like panel to panel. So sometimes you have to compare all the different panels and decide where you want those scene placements to go and where you want those colors to be. Because I've gotten reference art from clients that are like, sometimes the costume's green and sometimes it's gray and sometimes it's black. Who knows? And then you can kind of pick and choose where you want to like steer the look.
Gotcha.
And if it's an original design, then I start with a sketch. So even if it's like a rough doodle, like just doodle it out so that I can see the overall silhouette of what I'm going for, even if I don't like do a fully finished sketch with like color and everything.
Oh yeah. It's nice like when you can draw a body form and then just like for yourself draw it on there, so you in your mind have an idea of what you kind of want it to be, because what it is in the picture or in the comic, like it usually always turns out like, you know, slightly different. Like I think for myself at least, I always put my own twist on how I think an outfit should like be / perform like in the real world.
Right, because obviously wearing it personally is different than, you know, how it is in the comics or how they sewed them into it on the movies.
that's another one that like always makes me sometimes angry at comic book and video game artists, because sometimes they just make these things and there's just like no visible way to get in and out of this thing. And it's like there's no seam lines anywhere. It like hugs the body perfectly. Where the hell do you put a zipper in this thing? Like, is a constant conundrum of costume designers.
It's just such a battle.
Yeah.
All right, Eiraina, can you hear us? Are you good?
I can.
Okay,
I can
great.
hear you guys.
Okay, cool. Sorry for all the tech today, guys. We're just having too much fun today. Okay, so for you, what is your game plan?
So the game plan always starts with like a silhouette, what's identifiable about a character, especially when you're doing like matchups and stuff. You want to make sure that you're grasping the essence of characters. And so for me, it usually starts with a sketch. I like to doodle a lot. And once I've got a sketch done, maybe I'll sketch it a couple more times, get a couple of different ideas going and say, okay, well, I like the skirt on that. I like the top on that. The hair's not working for me. And I kind of just whittle it down to, okay, here's a good plan. Then I start looking at the individual pieces and I'll actually label them. Like, I can do this out of craft foam. I can do this out of fabric and this and that. I can use this wig from my closet. And so it's kind of a process of planning it, then pricing it, individual materials, and going, all right, can I actually afford to do this? And by the time I've got that all kind of planned out on paper, I'm like, all right, shopping run. And it goes from there. So definitely when it comes to fabrics, it's all about what's going to be comfortable, what looks good in the camera's eye as well. Because even though it looks really shiny and pretty here, if it just doesn't pick up on a camera, you built a costume for very little.
Yeah, which that is actually a great, that's a great question about regarding fabrics and where to source things. So, Lauren, I kind of am anticipating your answer on this one. But for you, living in LA, I mean, we kind of have the playground, so to speak, of buying fabric, of having things available to us. Where do you source your materials, and how do you go about like what you think is a fair price versus like getting the material that you want?
Okay, well, like you said, in Los Angeles, we have a playground. So we have a whole fashion district here in LA that's just fabric shop after fabric shop after fabric shop, and we can get literally anything we could possibly want at just a 10-minute drive away from where I am right now. And it's magical and I love it. And I couldn't live without the LA Fabric District now. I will say that I've been to the Fabric District in New York City just because I was curious. And I saw a whole lot of the same exact fabrics that I'm used to seeing in downtown LA for 4 times the price.
Ooh.
So, just because their real estate is so expensive. So like, honestly, I don't ever want to shop anywhere but downtown LA ever again, because it's just not worth it. I don't really know what I would do if I didn't live in a city that had a fabric district like we do. Honestly, I've even considered it, if ever I had to move out of LA, that I would just have to have it in my monthly budget to like fly to LA with an empty suitcase, go shopping, and then come back. Like, and that would just have to be part of my like work allowance budget, because it's just, I've become so like, it's a crutch almost that I have that available to me. And it was actually kind of hard during the beginning of the quarantine and lockdown, because a lot of the fabric stores closed. So there were a lot of things that like I couldn't get access to that I was used to having regular access to. So then you have to like search online and do all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like price, pretty much anywhere but LA, you're gonna spend a fortune if you want quality products. But because we have the fashion district, you're able to go in and haggle on a lot of things. So I've become an expert haggler too, and I'm kind of a hard ass about it. So like the guy will be like, oh, it's $18 a yard. And I'm like, I paid $14 a week, $14 a yard last week. I'm not paying $18 this week. And I just kind of like stick it to them until they give me what I want. And sometimes I'll just walk out. Sometimes I'll walk out of the store and then they'll be like, okay, fine. And I'm like, I get what I want.
It is kind of no man's land down there. You are,
well,
it is almost,
they do try to prey on people who aren't knowledgeable of what they're getting. So like, I know what different fabrics should cost.
right, yeah.
So I know when they're trying to rip me off and I can call them on it. But a lot of people who are like going to be new to cosplay or new to shopping in those kinds of stores are like just going to be so like scared or overwhelmed by the process of handling. But
well, Michael Levine's is my last choice. That's probably my last.
No, I Michael Levine's.
Like if I like I will park like in the garage like right next to Michael Levine's, and then I'll go in, I'll take a look around. I'm like, because I know it's my last ditch effort if I can't find what I need. I'm like, I really don't want to.
No, because as much as everywhere else, and you can always find all of those fabrics at some other store, but sometimes you have to hunt. So sometimes it's just a matter of hunting. I create very like detailed shopping lists when I'm going downtown, like based on my projects that I have going. So I list out like what kind of fabric I need, how many yards I need, what color I need, and what store I think will have it. And then I organize that list before I go. And I'm like, okay, I can get all these things from Trim 2000. I can get all these things from Chevalier Fabric, and like knock out my list one thing at a time. So I can get in and out of downtown in like under an hour, but sometimes on those projects that you were talking about, when you have to like hunt for something, I like allot myself like an hour or two plus just to like hunt and go from store to store and try to dig and find what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. Eiraina, I'm saying this wrong. Eiraina? Yes?
Eiraina.
Okay. I'm so
Call me
sorry.
anything you want, just call me late to dinner.
Same question. Where do you source your fabrics, and what is a good price like versus like the quality of the fabric? Do you have to like either like sacrifice on one or the other?
Well, I can say that as a hobbyist myself, I usually have a very strict budget for a lot of my costumes. So whereas I don't have as high quality costumes, I usually make them in such a way that it's like, okay, well, if this gets old, if I have to replace it, that's okay. I can just go get more fabric. So I typically go to stores more like Walmart and Joann's, and I try to really aim for those sales as much as I can. But sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, ooh, $30 a yard? That's not happening. No. So in those cases, I tend to get a little bit more creative and say, okay, well, if I can't find what I'm looking for, let me find something close. So maybe that's finding something that's a little bit different color, and I'll have to dye it the color I want. Or maybe I can go hit up some thrift stores, and if I need leather, I'll go find all those leather pants that everybody's getting rid of from the 80s. And I'll make something out of that.
That's a good point. So Eiraina, you do both cosplaying and LARPing. Now, do you approach costume design creation differently for a cosplay that you're going to do, or for, compared to a LARPing? Because obviously, cosplay, it's usually for conventions or for photo shoots, whereas LARPing, you can be out for an entire day, sometimes weekends, even longer.
Absolutely. And this is something that I learned actually in the very first event that I went to as a LARPer, because as a cosplayer, as a model, I'm like, okay, no problem. If my costume is a little uncomfortable, I only have to undo it for a couple hours. It's all good. Bring a change of shoes. We're good. And I thought, this is fine. And since I never really considered doing LARPing, I thought, hey, my tabletop gaming and my costuming, like, they're totally separate. I never really worried about LARPing costumes. And so I just figured in my first event, I'd go dress as my character from the Stream of Many Eyes, and I thought, this will be fine. Leather trench coat, corset, high-heel boots, this will be fine. It was not fine. It was absolutely not fine. Comfort was, I still say that comfort is kind of a dirty word because of, when you're going for a costume, you want it to look good. You don't necessarily want it to be comfortable per se, which is wrong. Don't listen to that little voice ever. Costuming has to be comfortable because that's going to change your mood. It's going to change your experience. It's going to change how you interact with other people. So for LARPing, ditch the leather. Especially on like your core area. So if you've got a coat, if you've got a corset, like really rethink that leather or those hot polyesters, because you will overheat. I did, wasn't fun. Don't do it. On the other hand, for LARPing, especially because I go to Twin Mask LARP in Southern California here, and it's really fun, but their grounds get very, very warm during the day and very, very cold at night because it's in kind of like a marshy lake bed type area. So it gets very damp and very cold, probably about an hour after the sun sets. So you want to be very cool during the day, cover yourself, make sure you don't get sunburned or overheat. But then at night, you've got to make sure that you have layers for your costume, which can sometimes be a fashion sacrifice. I feel that in my heart most of the time. But again, without that warmth when it's cold and that cooling off option when it's hot, your weekend, your LARPing experience is going to suffer for it. So it's very important to pick out those cottons and those fleeces for the appropriate times of your LARPing experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, but pockets in all costumes, whether you are LARPing or cosplay, make sure you have pouches, make sure you have pockets. And a couple of times that's been an oversight and I've regretted it instantly. So pockets always.
I always try to build pockets when I have an opportunity to.
So Lauren, once you've figured out who your group of people are, or what your theme is, and you've done the fabric shopping and all of that, like what are your next steps for moving forward with your creations?
Well, once we've finalized a design on like either sketch or like a reference board of like reference images from whatever comic or movie or whatever the reference art might be from, once I have that art, then and the design finalized, then we go into pattern making. That would be the next big step to make sure that the pattern is good to go, and then it's just a matter of cutting and sewing at that point. I think the thing that takes the longest is the design and the fabric shopping and just making sure you have all your materials. Well, depending. Sometimes the construction can be time consuming depending on what it is. But oftentimes when I know what we're doing, once the plan is set, it's just a matter of go until it's done. And sometimes that's very quick and sometimes it's not. It really depends on the costume.
Eiraina, for you, so you've picked out your fabric, you've done either your thrift shopping or whatever. Like, what are your next steps for when you're creating?
It's much the same as Lauren mentioned. If anything needs to be patterned and sewn together, that's usually a big step, especially if it's like the undergarments, the dress or your leggings, whatever it may be. For me, I usually get those base pieces constructed and put together, and I put them on my dress form and go, okay, yeah, I like this, or no, I need to tuck this up, I need to fix this, because I'm nowhere near as skilled as Lauren is. So a lot of me is just like futzing and getting it just right. Once I have a base, then I can start accessorizing it, I can start adding the details and visualize it a lot easier. Especially when it comes to LARP costumes, I know that there are a lot of people who are like, I got all this really cool gear and I want to throw all of it on my character. All of it. But you do have to keep in You're good. You do have to keep in mind weight. You do have to keep in mind your silhouette. Make sure that you're not taking up too much space. I know that can be trouble with certain cosplays and stuff that involve like wings and large props.
Wings.
So much. I love wings, but they always tell you you're a fire hazard at conventions. So.
Yeah. Well, also you have to walk sideways down every aisle.
I went to Comic-Con with a 6-foot wingspan a couple years back.
You went to Comic-Con with a 6-foot wingspan, but with like 8 other women with 6-foot wingspans. So
yeah, I think Bernadette and I were tied for largest wingspan. My wings were supposed to like open and close, but they wouldn't. So we ended up locking them open just for the pictures. And then, yes, I did have to go through all doorways sideways. But we did have like a whole team of handlers to like make sure to clear the walkways and stuff as we were coming through. But it was still a nightmare.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. So that story is a great example. So once you have your cosplay together, like everything's sewn, everybody's cosplay in the group is done. I mean, like Lindsay, you and I, because the stream of Mini Eyes was mentioned, we did the fight shows for the stream of Mini Eyes. So before we even stepped on that stage, we were wearing our costumes and fighting in them and rehearsing in them to make sure that we could move, that we were able, to do everything safely also, that we needed to do in these outfits. But that's just one example of being able to go and be ready for game day. Like for most cosplayers, game day is like the day that you're going to be wearing or presenting this new costume. So
Don't do that.
So what is your plan for like the day? Like it's your time to wear it, especially like Lauren, I know you've done the fashion shows, I know that you've also done competitions and stuff like that. What are the steps? Like, do you have to plan beforehand, like put on the outfit beforehand, or what do you do for game day just to make sure you can make it through the day?
Well, I think it depends on what your game day entails. If it's a costume contest and you have to be there by a certain time to get judged, or if it's a photo shoot and you have to meet up with your photographer at a certain time, or if you're in a big group and you all want to show up to the con at the same time. So that's like step one is figuring out when you need to be in costume and ready to go and ready to shoot. And then making sure that you give yourself enough time to get ready and buffer that time, like add 30 minutes or an hour to that time, because you're always running late. And that's one of my biggest things on group costumes too, is that like, we'll all agree, we'll be like, okay, shoot's at 11 o'clock, let's meet at this fountain at 10:30, and then we'll walk over to the shoot location. Never, ever in the history of cosplay has the whole group been on time, anything, ever. And it always sucks for the person who does get there on time and is like sitting there waiting patiently for everybody else to show up. And then like everybody else is like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour late. And then your one friend who was responsible and got ready on time is just sitting there twiddling their thumbs and waiting to go to their photo shoot, and then has to stick around and wait for everybody else. And sometimes especially in a group costume, sometimes their costume doesn't make sense without the rest of the group. So it's really important to be considerate of your fellow mates, or get ready together and walk over together or something like that. Because there's nothing worse than like sitting around and waiting for your group to show up and be like, why the hell are you 2 hours late? We were supposed to start this photo shoot an hour ago. Like, obviously in a competition setting, like if you show up late, you're out, like that's it. But like those photo shoots and things, sometimes there's a little wiggle room, but like it's really inconsiderate whenever there's other people counting on you to be that person that's always running late. Obviously, like if shit happens and something goes wrong, of course, then you got to deal with it. But in terms of just waking up with enough time to get ready with some added buffer time just for those errors is really considerate to your group mates.
Right. Eiraina, you do competitions. I mean, you've won competitions. I mean, you've gotten, awards in them. So can you speak to how you get ready for that? Like what does that look like? When you wake up in the morning, you're like, today's the day, I'm gonna win a medal.
Well, I don't know that I've ever woken up one morning and said, oh yeah, I'm gonna win stuff.
Yeah, I'm more confidence, girl.
No, I honestly, particularly the Designers Guild one was a complete surprise to me. I was doing a group costume with the Star Wars steampunk universe, which, great group of cosplayers.
I know
but
they
we
are.
yeah. So for them, it was always a thing of we got to meet on time, we got to be there together, because there were a couple of members of our party that don't make sense unless they're with the rest of us. I mean, obviously Darth Vader, Leia, Han Solo, that's always going to be recognizable. But when you have Padme and Cad Bane and some of the more obscure characters, it looks amazing when we're all there together. And it looks kind of half-baked if we're not there together. So it is always about meeting up, having a place, having a time, so far as making sure your costume is ready to go, whether it's a competition or LARPing or hanging out with your friends in the hall, making sure that your costume isn't going to fall apart is a really big one. I've had a couple of structural failures, mostly shoe related for whatever reason. Always bring a spare pair. But when it comes to game day, like for me, it's very, very important to make sure you test run that costume. No matter how long you're going to be wearing it, test run it. See where it's itchy, see where it's rubbing, see where maybe it structurally might fail. Wear it around the house. Like, go sweep, go vacuum, wipe down the counters, do something in the house that makes you feel like you're moving around and kind of gives you an idea of how this is going to feel. Make sure that your bobby pins aren't stabbing you in the head. Make sure that, right, it feels.
It's probably the worst. Like, the worst common, cosplay pain is the bobby pin stabbing you in the scalp.
I don't know. I think it's unreasonable heels.
Oh, yeah. Heels and bobby pins, definitely. Those two things are usually the most common for me anyway.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so I very much agree with you guys when it came to making sure you were in your costume, practicing all your fighting stances, making sure you can have your pants ripped.
That horrible ripping sound, the popping of the seam, and you're like, I hope that it's the outside of the pants and not the inseam. I just pray.
It never is.
It never is.
No.
Not. You don't have your Chuck Norris jeans on.
That was a really good point. So, Lauren, and well, both of you, but Lauren, so what do you do for a contingency plan? Like, okay, you're at the con, you're at whatever, something's gonna happen. Do you have a kit that you bring with you to make, fix stuff?
Generally speaking, I usually have safety pins on hand, but that's about it. I'm not one to bring a sewing machine to a convention. That is not my thing.
Come on.
For me, if something breaks, it's done, and I go to get out of it. I give up. I'm like, whatever. I'll just wear it tomorrow, or figure it out another time. It's fine. But if you really need to, there's so many people that just are so generous with their time, that do those cosplay repair stations, and friends that cosplay always have fashion tape. I would say fashion tape and safety pins I always have on me at all times, at a convention, because those are always good.
That's bread and butter right there.
But in terms of seam rips, I had my Harley Quinn inseam rip at a con, and we safety pinned it until I could get back to the hotel room. But it wasn't that bad. Nobody could see it when I was walking, so it was fine. It was just annoying. But that's really the only major costume malfunction that I think I've had. Knock on wood.
Yeah. So Eiraina, do you put stuff with you?
For me personally, absolutely. Because again, some of my materials aren't always the highest end, which is a personal choice, but it also makes me less worried about if it breaks, if it fails, if it gets dirty. But with that, always have to be prepared for the worst, and a lot of it has been just a learning experience. So I will always bring a small hand stitching sewing kit. Safety pins are a big one always. And I have been known to even bring a stapler, because staplers work good for any sort of like craft foam, like a simple thing. Even stitching breaks, you can staple that sucker real quick. So makes it real fast and really easy.
I do love that whenever I'm working on a costume for someone else, especially when it's something like a character that has signature poses or motions and stuff that they need to be able to do, like taking that into consideration whenever you're picking out your fabrics, picking out your, making the patterns and doing the design. Like for when you guys are doing like fight choreography in these costumes and stuff, like if I was designing something for LARP, I might even hide like an entire inseam panel that's stretch and then have the outseam look more fit and stuff. And that way it really kind of acts like a legging without being a legging. So then you could bend and stretch, do kicks and fight in it. And like, or Spider-Man is another good example. Like Spider-Man is always going to do stupid, weird poses on the con floor. And if his inseam pops because he's crouching down and crawling around and doing that thing. So you always have to like take those kinds of poses into consideration when you're doing those styles of costumes. So it's good to know poses.
I've had that issue in theater, you know, because I did musical theater for years and years and years, and there was 2 instances where I had epic malfunctions because one, I had to wear a wedding dress that I had to dance in and flip in, and I told the costumer, I was like, this is gonna pop, it's too tight. She's like, it's fine. Literally, I wore it the first day, it ripped all right up. Second one was the Rocky Horror Show. I had to wear this corset, which had no strings or anything. And again, dancing. And I told the costume designer, I was like, I don't have enough coverage. She's like, you'll be fine. I was like, I don't have enough coverage. And definitely popped out. Middle of the show. Luckily, it was dark. You know, it's Rocky Horror. So like, it's very dark. And I was like able to tuck back really quickly. But it's like, let's field test these costumes a little bit beforehand and see if they actually work. Also, trust the talent if they tell you that it's not gonna work.
Absolutely. And just as a heads up, if ever you're wearing a corset or something and you're afraid of a failure, you know, little duct tape right here will absolutely help your panic in that moment if it should happen. I do that with Wonder Woman.
Genevieve, you had a costume once you were talking about that you had to strategically tape on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I guess duct tape. I'm never going to use any sort of tape on anything of mine ever again. Because my Ryuko cosplay, which Lauren, you helped me pattern and walked me through the sewing of the whole thing. That Ryuko cosplay, like I had to cover parts of the boobs, you know, and I decided that Gorilla Tape was a good idea and got a 2nd-degree chemical burn on my clavicle area that, thank God, it went away. But I'll never do that ever again. So you got to be real careful. That you make in the moment.
Concern about popping out or busting out. Honestly, I would, my corsets are secure enough that I'm not concerned about people popping out. If they're doing backflips, that's a whole other thing. But like for a Rocky Horror or something, I would just make like matching pasties and just be like, well, woohoo!
That's brilliant idea.
Yeah, like the pasties stuff is great. Like they even have those like little nude flower ones. Like I've never felt that I've needed to have like pasties under, like thing. I've never worn an outfit that I'm just like, that a pasty has ever worked for me, because they always show through, like, unless it's going to be something thick like a corset, then you always see them and you're like, this looks more like a nipple than like my actual nipple. But yeah, so the one thing that like I actually always bring to a convention is super glue, like the little one, like the little tubes of super glue, because I always find either myself needing that for props, or I find somebody else on the floor that's like, oh, my prop broke, and I'm like, I have super glue. And it's always, you know, that's always the one thing. I don't actually think I've ever taken a needle. I've had needle and thread in my room, but I've never taken that to a con floor. The only thing that I've ever had on a convention floor is super glue, and it has come in handy almost every single time, like either for me or for somebody else. Which is also a great thing to mention, and that because like the community is so tight knit that I find that other cosplayers are willing to help out, like even, you know, cosplayers that they don't know, strangers on the floor. So that always, like when you're in the midst of it and you're like, say you're at AX and you don't want to wait in another, you know, 6 hours to, you know, go through security, like you're kind of, once you're there, you're in it. So like, have you guys encountered, I mean, because I mean, I've encountered this where other cosplayers will, you know, they'll help a girl out if she's having trouble.
Nice. Well, most cons these days actually have a cosplay repair station. Like most conventions have gotten behind the train of like having somebody set up at like a booth space with hot glue guns and a sewing machine and safety pins and fashion tape and all that other good stuff. Really? So like, and the cons that don't have that set up, like, usually there are people like cosplayers that like volunteer to walk around and do that. I've seen people that like, almost have like the Mad Hatter costume with like a bandolier of different colored threads, and then like having toolkits and stuff, like, oh, you need something, I got you, and then like you can tip them if you want to repay the favor and stuff. But oftentimes, especially at bigger conventions, there's either a designated cosplay repair station, or if you're on like the forums or the chats or something that are involved in that con, usually somebody knows somebody that has the thing you need. So,
right. I mean, have you had that experience, like, you know, either helping out another cosplayer or someone helping you out at a con or an event?
I helped them set up the cosplay. Well, I didn't like set it up, but when LA Comic Con started doing a cosplay repair station, I gave them a list of things that I thought should be at the cosplay repair station. I didn't want to run the cosplay repair station.
Just impart knowledge.
These are the things that would help.
Right. Helping comes in many forms. For me personally, I can absolutely agree with that. Sometimes I've been one needing help, and some. Wow. You forgot to eat, someone got snacks for you. Someone's gonna check in, make sure you've had water. Someone's gonna make sure that like you've got a headache. We're gonna source some Advil somewhere. And I mean, I love that. I love that we look out for each other. I love that we compliment each other on our work. Like, I just think that the community is so helpful and so wonderful. And I love being a part of something like that. If there's anything I can ever help with, like, boom, I'm there, because someone's done it for me and I'm gonna pay it forward.
Yeah. So Lauren, I'm interested because you've done, and this can obviously be for both of you, but you've done so much in your career, and you know, with Corsetry and all of the different projects. Is there one that was like, I don't know, the most challenging for you, either in the creation or the concept, or?
I guess it depends on which kind of challenges you're
that's true.
Because there've been challenging projects where like directors and producers are challenging to work with, and then there's been ones where performers are challenging to work with, and then I don't know, sometimes it's just a challenge in the creation of the build in general, like just a weird project, like
like say a weird build that you had to do. Does one stick out to you?
we didn't really have a lot of problems with it, but I'm looking at the Grouch couch. We had to make a fully upholstered footed couch. So figuring out how to upholster a couch and so all of its parts could move and be controlled by a puppeteer and stuff, and that was kind of cool. And like the couch itself has like a trap door so it can eat people, and that like those kinds of challenges are like fun projects for me. But those are in a negative connotation in terms of challenge. Those are positive. Like it's so much fun to attack those kinds of costumes as a learning device. But I feel like every new costume or cosplay, you're always learning something from that costume, like whether it's a new painting technique or a new armor technique, or I just learned how to embroider this thing or do that. Like you're always growing your skills and adding to your repertoire with every new challenge per se. So like anytime a client comes with like something new, I'm like, I've never done that before, but I don't see why we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. What about you, Eiraina? Have you had anything that was like, I don't know, really challenging?
Well, I can say that I do agree. Every costume has its own quirks and challenges. For me, I usually approach the costume and go, okay, cool, I want this and this. I stare at certain pieces and I go, how am I going to do that? Well, I guess we're going to do it.
Oh,
no. Sorry guys for all the tech stuff today. We're I know down here in LA the heat is pretty bad, and I know sometimes that affects our internet.
Yeah. Black rolling brownouts and stuff.
I know.
I'm so done with summer.
But yeah, I think it has to do with.
I just want some rain, you guys.
Anytime
can we just like get some rain for Southern California? That
is a challenge. Probably the most recent and terrible challenge, but it came out with a wonderful product.
Do you guys want me to
would be
say anything on the costume
my Daenerys Targaryen dress. I did. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I think people hear you.
Oh, I can't see her again.
Oh, sorry, just making sure. I'm like,
yeah, I can't see or hear her.
Okay. We'll navigate this.
Okay.
Continue, Eiraina. You're good.
So the Daenerys Targaryen dress, if you guys check out my Instagram, it's the one where I'm in all red. I always felt that Daenerys should wear a really beautiful red dress, something that really stuns the audience. And so when I did it, I'm like, hey, nothing shines like glass beads. And that was a wonderful choice for the product, but so far as my sanity and my level of cursing during a project, that was a new challenge. I did all of the beading by hand, and it was completely new, completely foreign to me. I say that I'll never do it again, but that's a lie. I probably will.
I mean, now that you know how to do it, the learning curve is a little less steep.
I hope so. I felt that way with wigs too. I hate styling wigs, but it's now become something very.
Right. Well, thank you guys both so much for joining us. I can't believe an hour has already gone by. This is
I know.
Crazy town. So where can people find you if they want to follow your work, or if they have projects and want to reach out to you?
All right, Lauren, where can we find you?
I'm at Castle Corsetry across the board on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, the works. And if you're interested in getting a costume built by me and my team, you can just email us. There's a contact page on castlecorsetry.com.
Cool. And Eiraina, where can we find you?
So you can find me at Eiraina on pretty much every social media forum. If you Google my name, I pop up. If you don't know how to spell my name, that's totally cool too. Just check out Steamy Leia. I will absolutely pop up with that. As far as me and costuming, because I'm a hobbyist, I don't know that I can actually make costumes for anybody else per se, but if you want to know how I did anything, let me know. I can put together a tutorial. I'll tell you exactly how I did it. I'm an open book when it comes to cosplay secrets.
Cool. All right, so you guys know this is the kickoff day for UkadorCon. We have so many amazing events for you today through Monday. Obviously, we have Realms of Bucador starting at 6:30, but tomorrow we've got like panels on crafting compelling stories. We've got a couple one-shots that we're doing. Friday, we've got Villains of Bucador. Genevieve and I will be playing in that. We've got our Fabled Femmes games, which both of us will be playing in. So check out our Discord. We've got the schedule pinned in the Dorkies chat, and of course make sure you go there to vote for the awards, which we will announce on Monday after Diane's new show. But then we'll be back next week with Genevieve. What are we doing next week?
Next week we have Crafting on a Budget Part 2. So that means that we're going to be learning how we've got a whole nother set of guests, and we're going to be learning how to make terrain and minis and all that kind of cool stuff for RPG on a budget. Since you guys loved the first one so much, we wanted to do a second one, and I mean, there's so much to cover. Shall we talk about the raffle?
Yeah, so enter cosplay into the chat for the raffle, and Chris will announce that at the beginning of Realms at 6:30, so make sure you come back here in 30 minutes. And that's all we got. Thank you, ladies, again for being here. It was a blast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. See you next week.